My name is Yves Coudière. I am a professor at the University of Bordeaux. I am a member of the Institute of Mathematics of Bordeaux, and I'm also a member of the Electrophysiology and Heart Modeling Institute of Bordeaux, also called the Lyryc. I am working on Simcardiotest, and the objective is to bring computer modeling and simulation closer to the manufacturer and the regulation authorities, in order to contribute to optimizing or to decision-making regarding safety, for instance, efficacy of devices or drugs, in order to reduce cost or duration of the development of drugs or devices, also maybe have an impact on animal experiments, optimize clinical trials, and many more objectives. Well, I'm leading a group working on pacing leads and catheters. It's about pacemakers. So a pacemaker is a device that aims at delivering electrical impulsions into the heart when the heart is not able to pace the correct rhythm by itself. So we have two types of challenges. The lead has to be inserted into the blood vessels. It navigates from an entry point on the skin down to the heart cavity, in which the lead itself has to be attached to the muscle. So the one question concerns how this small cable, the lead, can navigate into the complex tree of vessels down to the heart. The battery delivers an electrical impulse through the cables to the electrodes that are in the heart. This needs energy. So ever since an electrical pulse is imposed to the heart, it has to trigger a heartbeat, and it uses a certain amount of energy. And we have to quantify the energy needed to trigger a heartbeat, and in order to ensure that the device is safe and can really trigger a heartbeat when it's necessary, and also in order to monitor the electrical charge in the battery, and so that the battery can long as much as possible. Then the device itself stays as long as possible in the body of a patient. For each heartbeat, the cable will bend a little with the contraction of the heart. So you can imagine that at some point it will break. And this is the last point that we want to investigate with computational models, to be able to quantify the number of heartbeats that the cable will leave before breaking. We addressed all this challenge. So they are in two parts. One part concerns mechanical questions. Mechanical questions, it means we look for forces or displacements. These are the questions regarding how the lead navigates towards its target position, and also how many cycles it can get before rupture. And the other family of questions is about bioelectricity. It's how much electricity you need to put into an impulsion to trigger a heartbeat. So we have two sets of computational models, one in the domain of mechanics and one in the domain of cardiac electrophysiology and bioelectricity. We use these computational models to quantify a certain number of parameters that were estimated to be important for the questions that we have regarding the leads. So for instance, in the mechanical domain, there is a mechanical model, which is a set of mathematical equations in which there are unknowns. The unknowns are, for instance, forces or displacements. And once the equations are solved, we get forces which participate to answer the question of whether the lead will navigate towards its location or not, or how easy it would be to navigate towards its location. The equation, so in the mechanical equation, they encode all what we know from the physics about the mechanical behavior of the tissue, the mechanical behavior of the lead, and all what we need to place into the mechanical models is encoded into the equations, okay? But then one problem is that these equations, they don't have an explicit solution. We cannot compute explicitly by using a plus, minus, multiply, and divide, or square root. We cannot compute solutions this way. So we replace the equations by what we call discrete equations, and this is what we call a computer model. When running a computer model in a certain scenario, then we get a simulation. So that's what computer modeling and simulation is. And so from a computer model, which is an approximation of the equations that models the physics, we compute solutions in a given scenario. It's true for the mechanics. So we have equations and computer models for the mechanical aspects. And we also have computer models for the electrophysiology and bioelectrical aspects of the problem. I'm leading the use case concerning pacing leads and catheters. The main partners involved in the use case are Inria and Microport. The last partner is in silico trials. Their expertise is as follows. So at Inria and University of Bordeaux, we have academic researchers, specialists in computer science, applied mathematics, experts in bioelectricity and cardiac electrophysiology, and also experts in mechanical models in general. And at University of Bordeaux, we also have experimental researchers in the domain of cardiac electrophysiology at the tissue scaling. Then at Microport, there are engineers working on the use case. They are experts in the development of the device. And they also know the question of interest for practical use and practical design of pacemakers. And they are also able to carry out small lab experiments. And then at in silico trials, the engineers are working on implementing a web interface to the computer models that will be developing to address the questions for this use case. The scenarios have been defined, and the numbers that will output will be output of the computational models are well defined, and these numbers will help answering the questions of interest for the development of the pacing leads. We still have a bit of implementation to complete in the software that are used to run the simulations from the computational models. The main step next is to discuss and to specify the level of credibility of the computational models. It means that we have to ensure that the computational models is of quality, of high quality, and that the approximate solution that we compute with the computers is close enough to the solution of the models, the equations that we have written at the beginning, the equations that do not have explicit solutions. That's the first step, called verification. And then we have to prepare and execute lab experiments that will give us some data to compare to the model. This validation plus the verification are the key questions to answer or to discuss in order to specify how credible the model is with respect to the reality, and so then how useful it is in practice. The model is not aimed to be used by the patients. It's definitely to be used by specialists who want to understand or to qualify or to quantify some properties of pacing devices. These specialists may be engineers who want to develop a new device, for instance, clinicians who want to test or to challenge some new device, or there may be regulation agencies who want to test or to control the safety or the efficacy of the device. For sure, at the end of this project, there will be a running computer model that can be run from the web platform developed by InSico Trials. Clearly, I hope that it will diminish the time that we need to go from initial design of a new pacemaker, for instance, to its actual implantation in patients in a secure way. But then it can be seen also as a mean to reinforce the control that we have on the safety of the device, because it's a new way to say something about the security of some device. Obviously, if the model is judged with enough credibility, then it may diminish also animal experiments, and also it may help to focus clinical trials on specific cases, so to reduce the need for large clinical cohorts, for instance. So basically, it's safer, more secure, faster, with less impact on the society in general. Ideally, in the future, we will have more technology like that to better treat patients, or maybe to treat more complex disease. But the difficulty is that medicine is a matter of humanity. So we need this technology to be transparent. The future has to harmonize the technical improvements with the necessary humanity of healthcare.